Well, the harvest is on. For about the last 4 or 5 days, we've been bringing this much or more in. This is Gold Rush. These are Vortex beans. And this is the name I can't remember from Mackenzie. It was an experiment for yellow pole bean that pretty much failed. Tastes good, but it gets stringy really quickly, and it just doesn't bear that much. We're not going to do it again. A few highlights from the flowers here. Some have done quite beautifully. Sorry I didn't do one of the roses. I think this one is magnificent. The Cosmos aren't as good as last year because we got a different variety for some reason. And this little tomato plant has given us just an insane amount of tomatoes. I'd say 10 pounds. Just every day they kept on coming, and even though it's starting to slow down, it's still giving quite a few. The Vortex beans in full glory. Just an amazing heavy crop that's coming again this year. That's the second planting. Here's the first planting. And you can see all those beans hanging there. Just waiting to be picked. The snow peas, I don't know. We get very nice snow peas, but we don't get very many of them. I think next year I'm going to try a seed inoculant and see if that helps. That's the first crop, which is finished. Second crop is kind of long, but it's not bearing any heavier than the first crop did. The backyard peppers are really starting to come along now. We're getting peppers here, there, and everywhere. In the food forest, we've actually harvested some already, but food forest isn't quite there yet, so I'm not going to do a video on that. Broccolini was so-so. We got lots of it, but it was small. So the question is whether or not to keep broccolini or go back to broccoli or just dump the whole thing. One of our beds of onions got hailed on and whipped around, so I cut the stems down to 6 inches. Some people say that you're supposed to get larger onions if you do that. We'll see. And this is the Gold Rush beans. And I've had, at least 5 pickings off of this already. And they just keep on coming. Another shot of the late peas. They really jumbled up. I got lax in training them, so they're a little hard to get at. These are the late carrots, Nancy pulled some carrots, and they're looking mighty fine. The second bed of onions here is now starting to fall over, which means they're pretty much done. So it'll be interesting to compare the two. It's our hybrid tomatoes from our friend Petey, and they're coming along. Here's our one big failure. The one is bolted, it's out of here already, and that's the entirety of our Swiss chard crop. I think we got some really bad seed this year. We'll see what happens next year. These are our early carrots, and they're coming along nicely too. Oh, look at these flowers here. And over here too. Later on I'm going to do a whole video on our foiler fertilizer. The foiler application, I switched away from that famous blue stuff to a more organic formula, and it seems to be doing very well. It's especially noticeable on the flowers, but the bean crop is just incredibly large this year. These are for reject yellows. Looks great on the vine, but I'm not impressed with them. Okay, Juliets are coming. More Juliets. And we have here we are. Yellow pears. You can see them in there. And looky here. Early girls that are actually starting to turn early. I haven't been able to grow these on Hampton because they were susceptible to late season blight. And here they're not. They don't seem to be blighting at all, so I'm going to have a large crop. I think I'm going to be adopting these. Over here, lots of tomatoes from friends. We have to get in and prune again. These are the famous mortgage breakers. We'll see how they turn out. I think my experimentation with tomatoes is pretty much coming to an end. I'm pretty sold on Juliets. Can't remember what these are. There's also a tall little cherry tomato there too. And then down here, so you can get it in. I got one little Italian. So it's going to be another good year for the Hugelkulture garden.